Hello, everybody. It's Simon and Josh. We're going to be reviewing this month's listenings. So that's the month of July, correct? Yeah,
hmm
July. Gosh, this year's going fast. We're just going to be launching into our what we've been up to, what we've been listening to, and I'm really keen to see what you've been listening to, Simon. What have you been up to?
Oh man, so much. Well, first of all, should we maybe, get the elephant out of the room because it was like a big month for rock and roll, with, this big concert, uh, this
Yep.
of Ozzy and friends, um, which was, of course, I think I read somewhere that this basically was like the biggest metal concert that took place, or metal event or whatever. And well, first of all, I mean, I know you're not an old school metal kind of guy. Does did that do anything for you?
Do you mean the concert itself? Um,
Yeah, and
look,
also the 3 weeks later, the death of.
Yeah, Aussie as well. Well, I guess the funny thing is, I was talking to a friend of mine who was basically saying like, you know that after this he's just going to die. Like that's the whole reason they're doing it, right? And I was like, yeah, we'll see what happens because it's hard to tell. But it really did sort of happen, didn't it? And I know that they were doing it deliberately to try and finish things off before he passed away. And what an amazing sort of tribute, I guess, to finish up on, right? So.
Yeah, yeah.
Look. As far as I think that the sentiment of it really spoke loudly to me. How many people went along? How many people were a part of it? How many people, just gave up their free time to be able to be a part of the event was pretty touching. Obviously, Black Sabbath and Ozzy had a big impact on sort of world of metal, and I think that's where it really stood for me. It's one of those things where I've gone, yeah, I really should, probably spend a little bit more time listening to their discography, and that's probably going to be happening later this year for sure, especially based on all of the stuff that everyone's been talking about lately too. So I don't know, that's kind of where I stand. What about you?
Well, I'd say I've mostly been a Black Sabbath fan, and not so much of an Aussie fan. Like, certainly, I think that the combination of the two was gold, and the '70s Black Sabbath, so featuring Ozzy. I think that then the stars were aligned. They had you had the musicianship of um, Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi and who am I forgetting? Bill Ward, but um, and the combination of his very special voice that he had, I think that was like a golden combination. But also, like, I've always been a little bit in conflict about Ozzy himself, because when you see the interviews and you see how drugged out of his mind, or like how he's basically turned into a zombie, right? And it was even before um, the whole reality show,
Yeah, that's
where
right.
it was even more like, crap, this guy, like, th- then I was already like doubting a little bit, is this possible for this man to create music, or is it all, is this basically just like, with Britney Spears, they just need this famous person here, and everybody else is arranging everything, and they make these voiceovers, and oh, they have Zach Wild because Zach Wild kind of sounds like Ozzy when he sings, so um, uh, but I kind of did change my mind a little bit when I saw him fuck around with an old Moog synthesizer at some point, and I thought, okay, well, I guess he still has like this musical bones in his body, because uh, he was kind of doing that with grace. But yeah, no, I never really cared much for Ozzy's solo career, but the stuff he did with Black Sabbath, I think, is top notch stuff. Yeah,
I know that you were talking about it earlier on in the year as well, right? So
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that was one of the big things for me, as I thought, when you were exploring it, I thought I really should go back and check some stuff out myself too. So I'll definitely be doing that, if no, for no other reason than just as a tribute, and I guess also just to continue, gaining a bit of a perspective on so many of the genres that I love, being so heavily influenced by them, and the same musicians too, right?
Yeah, and regarding the show, and especially that last set with Black Sabbath, and then it was like, yeah, it was four songs, four very famous songs. Of course, it didn't sound quite as good as in the old days. What was interesting to see then was more the reaction of Ozzy and his interaction. That it was very heartfelt, of him. But straight after, I went to watch an old '70s recording of Black Sabbath live, and man, that's the stuff. That's the stuff you have to see. Yeah. All right, but yeah, okay. So mention that, and also maybe what is a big thing here is not only the death of Ozzy, but George Kooijmans of Golden Earring also died the other day, which is, well, big in the Netherlands. So I thought I'd mention that as well. But yeah, regarding my new discoveries and releases and stuff like that, I have like three topics. I have bands that I discovered that already, old bands. I got semi-new releases, and I got, well, actually proper new releases. I talked so long about this this event, this current event here. Let me just mention the actual new release. There's like one actual new release that I cared for this month, and it's just a single of Green Carnation. Do you know them? It's a prog metal band. They are mostly known for a album slash song that they released around 2000, Light of Day, Day of Darkness, which is 60 minutes long. Okay. So it's like one proper epic, 60-minute epic, and it's the bomb. It really, yeah, I think that is like, it should get so much more recognition than it has. Also because it was, it's very progressive just to do that thing. And I noticed on their latest album, which is already 5 years old, which is also a little bit of a comeback album because they went on hiatus. They even made a continuation of this 60-minute epic track. Yeah, that's the first release from their hiatus, which has lasted from 2007 2014, and yeah, now something new is coming, so I'm very keen on that. The new single is called "In Your Paradise."
So, do you know when the album's going to be released?
It's gonna be released. Let's see here. The single was on 8th of July. I believe this is in autumn. So 5 September. 5 September. It's called "A Dark Poem Part 1: The Shores of Melancholia."
Yeah, okay.
So in other words, it's a part one. So there's also going to come more after that, I suppose. Unless
fingers crossed. Yeah, it's not
right. Unless it does like a George R.R. Martin, and yeah,
yeah, just stops doing stuff. Sells it to a company. They turn it into a series, butcher the series, and then you never find out what he actually intended.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see if that happens. That's where the nerdy side comes out of us. So I was just going to say I haven't heard of them. I had a quick look to see whether or not they're in any of my sort of database that record my listenings that I stream, and it doesn't look like they are, unless I've got a typo in there. But yeah, so I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, it's absolutely your jam, I think.
Yeah, cool. That's actually pretty exciting. That's good. There's a few bands that are going to be releasing music over the next few months, at the end of this year, who I'm pretty excited about. So I'll probably talk about them at length a bit more. But I recently just saw Carnival play live in Newcastle,
oh, yeah.
And so that was pretty fun. That was last week. It was freezing cold, but they did well, and they announced during the show, because they played 3 tracks I think it was 3 tracks from an upcoming album, and they officially did release and say we're releasing that this year. So they said they're just finishing off the production of it, but they're pretty pumped about it. And to tell you the truth, the songs seem pretty good for a first listen. So they play Drones, which they've been, they released a few weeks ago, which is good, which meant I recognised that one. But the other one, I think it was Ghosts, and I can't remember the other name of the other track. But look, it was a great show. I just was meant to see them a second time. A friend of mine got a ticket to see them again in Sydney, which was meant to be last night. But I just found out that they cancelled. Oh, well, I found out last minute before I headed in. I found out that he has
that's better.
Yeah. Kenny has a chest infection at the moment. So they've put it off, and they've changed the day to a day that is not very fortuitous for me anyway, so I'll be working. But anyway, long story short, I got to see them. They were great. But I've not been listening to them this month because I know Carnival so well, so I didn't bother to do any pre-listening.
Understandable. Yeah, I saw Iron Maiden this month. Actually this week. Yeah. And but yeah, same thing. I did not need to listen to them for that, and I also kind of remembered why I haven't seen them in 20 years, because they play, they have all these mandatory hits that they have to play, so it's like, okay, now you're gonna play Number of the Beast. Yeah, they're gonna play a Number of the Beast, but so there's like a bunch of these songs that I just heard 5,000 times and don't need to hear again that they always play, but that's not a big deal. But also it's a little bit, they do not really change things up from the album versions. So for someone that knows everything in and out, it was a good show. I mean, it's impressive how Bruce still has a super voice.
And he's so active, isn't he? Because I saw them late last year. He's still jumping around the place and doing all sorts of things. So
certainly.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guitar players, I mean, they're not really virtuosos, right? But they are really tight.
They're great.
What is interesting is, of course, that they have this new drummer, Simon something, who replaced Nico McBrain because he could not really keep it up after his CVA. But what I kind of noticed there was, and I don't know if that's purpose or not, he really does like drag sometimes, like he really slows stuff down, but it's not per se a bad thing. And also indeed, then it does differ a little bit from the albums,
the original stuff.
For the rest, it was not much different from how it usually goes.
That sounds cool. That sounds cool to me. So we both saw live stuff. So there you go. So as far as first things, we've got. I'm preparing for next week's episode where I'm going to be looking into doing Hagen's discography with a friend of ours. So that'll be pretty fun, pretty exciting. That's Ian from Rhyme Signatures is going to stop by and going to go through some stuff with me. So Hagen has been my primary artist that I've been listening to. But other than them, I also was exploring a few different, again, sort of YouTube guys, because they've released like the best of lists, from the 2000s. And so that includes like notes reviews, and Ian's done one himself as well. And I like the takes, and they're quite different. So I went looking through some of that stuff, and I found a few gems. So I was really excited about that. And the first gem I wanted to talk about was Toehider. Now, Ian had brought up Toehider previously, and being an Australian sort of artist, I thought they sounded familiar, but I didn't know who he was, so I thought I'd check it out, and I have now officially checked it out, and I love it. It's chaotic, it's fun, it's incredibly varied. I'm pretty impressed by his vocal style and how much it changes, but I can also understand how some of the tracks specifically would grate on people. But me personally, I just thought it's one hell of a ride, and I've really enjoyed sort of just sinking my teeth into some of his stuff. The first album I did was an album called I Like It, which is, I think, a compilation of stuff that his fans, basically said, he said, I'm going to release something, what should I do? And they handpicked them. So I think that's pretty cool. And look, there's some really, really fun stuff on there. And I have to say, I would highly recommend it for those that don't mind a bit of whimsical listening. I think it's Well Give It. This is my most played song on the album, which was, very cool. It's very 80s, synthy, high energy kind of track. But they've got a look at within this album, there's a big scope of different things. Your genty, heavier stuff at one end, and then you've got, I guess, I go full bore, goes full bore. Like it's pretty full on. There's a little bit of screaming in it as well, which is kind of funky and adds an edginess to the album too. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those albums that's really hard to describe other than it's a roller coaster of ups, downs, roundabouts, and it's pretty progressive, but also some of the tracks are pretty simple too. So it's very easy to get into. His best stuff's really hooky. All of it has like a poppy sensibility to it, which I just love. But yeah, look, if you haven't heard of Toehider, check him out. Definitely, I'm going to continue exploring the discography for a while. I'm told that he released I think it was one track every month for a year, and Toehider is a two-person act. He's the musician and singer, and the other person's a cartoonist. And so, with each single, apparently, when they first started up, they said, "I'll do one cartoon for one song each month," and then eventually they've turned it into stuff. So they're a bit experimental, a bit different, but
that's love that kind of stuff when it takes a context further, so to speak, but or just make something creative about it. I know a Toehider. There was I think maybe 10 years ago, a colleague at the time recommended me that, since I recommended ACT to him, because they're both a little bit like it's shorter, whimsical kind of things. And I think I listened to mostly the album What Kind of Creature Am I? Is that how it's called?
Or maybe I'll have to have a look and see if it exists. I think you're right. I think there is one. How's about you keep talking and I'll have a look in the background?
Yeah, no, and I mean, since then they are on my list, or him or whatever, on my list of bands that I should like, but I can't get into. So I don't have too much to add to that discussion. I can certainly see that the charm.
Yeah,
for some reason it's just not for me.
Just so you know, it's What Kind of Creature Am I? And that is one of the albums that I've had a quick look into. I haven't done too much. I did do an EP by him, which I quite liked, which has the Space Famous track on it, which I thought was just great, being famous in spaces.
Yeah, I saw he had a Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and regarding the songwriting, apparently he comes up with a title, a song title, and then he starts writing the lyrics or making the song about it. So first he has like a title, because they're all very like clever titles, right? Or just crazy, or something that you go, oh, what is this track called? I'm gonna check that out. It's so that's where it starts, and then he makes the song.
Yeah, I think in the album that I was looking at, it's Bats Aren't Birds. Just the title itself, I was like, what? Bats aren't birds. And then when you listen to it, you're like, yeah, bats aren't birds. It's true. And, but I like that creativity and that whimsical silliness. So definitely check that out, you guys, if you're into that sort of thing. Anyway, you got a visitor over there, do you?
No, the visitor got halted.
Yeah, okay. It's like a poltergeist. Okay, so what do you want to kick off with?
Well, I do got some semi-new releases as well. So basically, like remixes, remakes, or just, well, I'll just go through them. I somehow missed. This might be even released last month, but well, it's not really important. Very recently, at least, Peter Gabriel uh, in what do you call it? Like sneakily made a release, I think totally unannounced, of a live album called "In the Big Room." So it's indeed, live albums is of course not the big deal that it used to be. So I guess this is also a very old recording. It's from 2003. So yeah, but it's a nice recording. It's a nice live album. It's kind of like a more intimate gig. It was for uh, um, you know, well, I guess fan club, some kind of fan club members that got tickets to this. It was I don't know how many people, but you kind of hear that this is a small gig, small venue gig, and but it's a full on band. It's not like it's an acoustic show or anything. And yeah, nice production on most tracks at least. Sometimes it kind of sounds different, but yeah, it was a good listen. But it's not like I've been having this album on repeat. But I can absolutely, recommend giving it a spin if you like Peter Gabriel. It's absolutely a good live performance. And then a couple of weeks ago, Jethro Tull released the, I guess, super classic semi compilation album, Still Living in the Past, with like all remixed by Steven Wilson and like new tracks, because this is the original release was from 1973, I believe, or four, and no, I think 1973, because it was then he had released Thick as a Brick, which was kind of popular, and also like the first real prog album that he released, or they released, and then the record label wanted to profit out of that, so then they made like this compilation album of a couple of new tracks, some live tracks, and some just old tracks from the previous albums. And the thing is, these previous albums, the tracks that got featured on Aqualung and Benefit and those albums from pre 1973, they already got remixes previously. So it's not like you hear those tracks and go, "Whoa, how much better that is." But yeah, nonetheless, it is a bit expanded. It is like an expanded edition, and of course, it sounds very good, and the songs are good. Yeah, so yeah, that released. I had not heard this album in its entirety before, even though I heard most tracks of it before. So it was one of those moments where I check out. It was sort of a new album for me by Jethro Tull, but on the same time, not really, since it is kind of a compilation album of mostly songs that I do know.
Yeah.
And lastly, this was released Thursday. Bruce Dickinson did a remix and part re-recording of the 1993 album Balls to Picasso, and it's called More Balls to Picasso. So they kind of re-recorded some of the maybe the bass in its entirety. That I'm not quite sure of, or if they just enhanced the sound there. I think they re-recorded most of the rhythm tracks of the guitar, the rhythm guitars, but they left all the lead guitar stuff, and they left the vocal tracks. I think they left the drums as well, but they did add some like percussion and strings to a couple of songs. So they kind of made it like this is a very not progressive record at all because it's more of like an alt rock grungy era kind of Bruce Dickinson, but with these added instruments, it kind of gets a little bit progressive because you got more stuff to listen to, or pay attention to.
It's more complicated, yeah.
Yeah. But no. So that was kind of nice. It was also an album that I haven't listened to in at least 20 years. So it was, uh, it's always fun to see how much you remember. And then of course I was thinking like, were the strings there or not? And then I had to research it. Oh no, I'm right. They weren't there.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds cool to me, and I think that's the fun of then having a look and going back and comparing and going like, why did they do this? What did they change? What was the sort of purpose of it, right? So that sounds cool. That sounds cool. The
Yeah.
I did I did another album. This one was from Notes Reviews. It was his top album released in 2020 for the year. At least that's the one that he put up there. And I'd never heard of it. And so I looked them up and listened to it and thought this was really, really great. But the interesting thing about it is when I've gone in and actually had a look at the stats behind it, nobody's heard of it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's actually a really obscure little sort of album. So when I asked a few people, have you heard of this band? Have you heard of this band? Because they're quite good. No one had. So this one's a good recommendation for those that sort of like Notes' taste in music. But look, it's called Zio. The band is ZIO, and the album they released was called Flower Tyrannia. And look, it's a really sort of charming, cool. I guess it's a bit theatrical. It's a little bit sort of theatre, I guess, but as well. But there's a lot of sort of complexity and a lot of different sort of ways that they go as well. This one here is kind of a bit sort of computer game sci-fi sort of vibed with songs that, titles like X-Ray and Jupiter, which are two standout tracks, I might add, on the album. But look, I really enjoyed this and I am continuing to really enjoy it. So at present, I'm just having a look at how many, I've played it through about 6 times. So for me, I'll probably, I'm well and truly into it, and I'll probably listen to it a fair bit more as well. It's, they're not really long tracks. Some of them are quite short, but especially the ones that sort of sit in and around sort of the 7-minute mark, they kind of like hit a sweet spot for me, which is great for length, for getting the idea across, and it has enough variances from, I guess, the central themes to make me just go, oh yeah, I like this. But yeah, I think that it's a really tight and well written like piece of music. So I would highly recommend this one if you're after something that's a bit obscure and something that's not as well known. Look, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe
it is so much about promotion, if we get widespread or not. I was also having another listen to the Twisted Mile, which we mentioned before, and I was like, yeah, this is really good. And then I was checking it out. At least on Spotify, you can count the listeners on one hand, and I think, oh man, it does not deserve this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. I'd be interested to know.
Monthly listens.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to know what this one would get, just because of that too. So I'll quickly look it up. I mean, I've got it up on Last FM. It said that there was 5,400 scribbles, but I'm not sure if that's last month or not. And if I quickly look up these guys on Spotify, I'll just very quickly see what they pop up.
81.
Because 81 monthly listeners. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So this is they're pretty obscure as well. But but look, guys, like I highly recommend this. I think it's a great one to check out. Okay, have you got another one, Simon? Because I've got continue.
I got certainly. I got a one more major one with this is a cluster bomb. Like we're connected to the title of our show. the time meters aspect, because I was thinking a little bit, as a 70s prog lover, I could actually only think about like a handful tops of Swedish 70s prog bands, and mostly I've given the blame to that you have this other genre that is prog, that is more the political progressive rock of the 70s in Sweden. So and the confusion of that. But so basically, what I did was I asked around on Reddit, but what do you got any Swedish progressive rock recommendations? And well, first of all, apparently these two genres are more conjoined than I maybe thought in the first place, because everything was political in the 70s in Sweden. So, there are probably a bunch of bands that I have kind of dismissed as not being prog rock, whereas they actually are prog rock. And there's one user there, now I don't know if I should mention his username or not, but who certainly gave a bunch of recommendations. So I'm just going to mention these bands that most of them still have to check out. They have hilarious names if you speak Swedish, at least, most of them, because most of it is in Swedish. You have Anna själv tredje, you have Arbete och fritid, Archimedes badkar, so the bathtub of Archimedes, Asuka, Autumn Breeze, Baltic, Berit's halsband, so Berit, it's a woman's name, her necklace, Bättre Lys, Contact, Dice, Dimmornas bro, Egba Energy, Friskvatten, Mats Glengård, Bo Hansson. Bo Hansson I of course know because of the his Lord of the Rings album from 1970, I believe. Horisont, Häxmjölk, International Harvester, Isildurs Bane, Björn Gison Lind, of course, the flutist, is very nice. Kebnekaise, Kebnekaise is like, wow, that's some good ass stuff. Also, when I was in Sweden, my brother-in-law recommended me Kebnekaise, and wow, that is some real nice folk prog, Swedish folk music prog. Fantastic.
Yeah, you'll have to send me those guys.
Sorry, yeah.
You'll have to send me like how to pronounce, spell, stuff, and I'll check them out. But that's a big list.
Yeah, and it's not even done. Either way, there's more to it. But for now, let's keep it by that. And no,
it's great. It's cool. This is the whole reason we do it, right? So that's
yeah.
Right.
So I got a bunch of stuff to check out on that topic, and I also got one more topic